Welcome to the deep dive. We've gathered some really fascinating sources today, and, well, we're setting our sights quite high literally. We're heading into the Italian Alps, into Alto Adige, to explore a red wine that's often subtle, maybe a bit misunderstood, but actually deeply complex. We're talking about Schiava.
Yeah, and our mission today for you is really to unpack this grape. It goes by so many names. Schiava, Vernatsch, Trollinger. We want to challenge that common idea that quality in red wine always means power and density.
Right. We're shifting focus. We're looking for finesse, for elegance. This dive is about understanding why subtlety is complexity and how this, well, seemingly light red thrives up there in the mountains. It's really a study in balance.
Mm-hmm. And to even start, we kind of have to tackle let's call it an identity crisis.
Yeah.
The single grape lives under at least three major names, and each one sort of points to different places, different histories.
Okay, let's break that down. Starting with Schiava. The sources suggest the origin of the name is, well, it's debated, isn't it?
It is. One idea links it to being Slavic, maybe brought over centuries ago, but the other theory, which I think connects more to the grape itself, suggests it means enslaved or tied up.
Ah, tied to the support structure, like the pergola system they use.
Exactly, which is fundamental to how it's grown, as we'll get into. But, regardless of the name's origin, its history is huge. For centuries, Schiava wasn't some niche thing. It was the dominant red grape in Alto Adige, or Südtirol, the absolute backbone of local wine culture.
And those other names help map it out, right? If you see Vernatsch on the label.
You're almost certainly in Alto Adige, and it usually points towards those higher quality, more Alpine styles, maybe St. Magdalener.
But Trollinger takes you across the border.
Yep, straight into Germany, Württemberg specifically. It's actually still one of their most planted reds, believe it or not. Same grape, different context.
What's really interesting, though, is that even within Italy, it's not just one thing. It's a whole family of clones.
It is, and understanding the key clones is crucial because they directly impact the style and, frankly, the quality potential of the wine.
So walk us through the main players in this family.
Okay, so the one that gets producers in Alto Adige really excited is Schiava Gentile, also called Klein Vernatsch, Small Vernatsch. This is the clone they prize for elegance. It naturally has smaller, looser clusters. It's less vigorous.
So naturally lower yields. Concentrates the flavor.
Precisely. It gives you that finesse, those delicate aromatics. It's what the serious producers are looking for.
Okay, and then there's the more, let's say, workhorse version.
That would be Schiava Grossa, or Gross Vernatsch. Grossa meaning large. This one is much more vigorous, much more productive. You find it a lot in Trentino, and it's the dominant clone for Trollinger in Germany.
And that vigor needs managing, I assume?
Absolutely. If you don't manage the yields really carefully, it can easily become dilute and, well, pretty simple. Quality growers are targeting maybe 60, 80 quintals per hectare. Considering how much it could produce, they're often cutting production by half, easily. That's the commitment needed.
Big difference between a basic coiffeur and something serious.
Huge difference. And just quickly, there's also Schiava Grigia, or Gros Vernatsch. It's quite rare, has grayish pink berries, sometimes used for super light reds or even rosados. Just shows the genetic diversity there.
Okay, let's tackle the core puzzle here. The Alpine terroir. Got this red grape making light aromatic wine, but thriving at high altitudes where you'd think it'd struggle to ripen. How does that work?
It's actually a fantastic setup for the style they want. Yes, Alto Adige gets a ton of sun, over 300 days a year, so the days get properly hot, building up sugar. But the real key, the secret weapon, is the massive thermal amplitude.
Right, the swing. The difference between the hot daytime temps and the really cold nights. Why is that specific fluctuation so vital?
Well, think of those huge mountains all around. As soon as the sun dips, the temperature just plummets. It's like a switch is flipped. And that sudden cold does two critical things. First, it slams the brakes on the breakdown of malic acid.
Which keeps the wine bright and crisp.
Exactly. Malic acid is quite volatile. Continuous heat burns it off, leaving the wine flat. The cold preserves it. Second, that chill helps lock in all those delicate, volatile aroma, compounds the florals, the bright fruits. It makes the final wine incredibly fragrant.
So the mountains basically act like a natural fridge, preserving acidity and aroma overnight.
Yeah,
And the ground itself plays a role too.
it does. The sources really highlight two key soil types. First, you've got porphyro, which is a type of volcanic rock. It soaks up heat like a sponge during the intense sunny day.
Like a heat battery.
Yeah, exactly. And then it releases that heat slowly during the cold night. This gives the vines and the grapes this gentle, consistent warmth, preventing ripening from just shutting down completely.
Keeps things ticking over smoothly.
Right. And then you often find dolomita, which is limestone, that's widely credited with contributing to the wine's freshness and adding those sort of subtle mineral notes you sometimes get.
And my favorite detail from the source is the Hora del Garda. It sounds so poetic. How important is this wind?
Oh, it's incredibly important. It's like nature's own disease prevention system.
Yeah.
Remember, Schiava has that thin skin and tends to form really compact bunches. That's a recipe for rot, especially botrytis in damp conditions.
Right.
The Hora del Garda is this reliable afternoon breeze that blows north from Lake Garda almost every day. It constantly ventilates the vines, drying off the grape clusters.
Did things dry, less chance for mold.
Exactly. Without that constant airflow, consistently producing clean, high-quality Schiava would be much, much harder. It's a vital part of the terroir equation.
Okay, so that fragility, the thin skin, the compact bunches, it leads us straight into the vineyard challenges. Farming this grape sounds like it needs real precision.
It really is a delicate balance. The thin skin means low tannins in the final wine, which is part of its charm, but it also makes it vulnerable. And those dense bunches are just magnets for rot if conditions aren't right. So yeah, the viticulture has to be incredibly mindful.
And the main traditional tool they use to manage this, which seems almost counterintuitive for ripening red grapes, is the pergola training system, keeping the vines way up high.
It seems odd if you're used to, say, Bordeaux or Burgundy low-train vines, but for traditional quality Schiava in this environment, the pergola is essential. That high canopy, maybe 1.8 or 2 meters up, creates this umbrella of leaves. It provides crucial shade for the grapes hanging underneath.
Wait, shade, didn't we just establish they need all that sun to ripen?
But it's too much of a good thing, especially that intense alpine sun hitting the grapes directly all day long. Direct, harsh sun exposure actually triggers chemical reactions that burn off that precious malic acid we talked about.
So the shade protects the acidity.
Precisely. It preserves the freshness. And importantly, it also helps prevent the grapes from accumulating too much sugar too quickly.
So it prevents overly alcoholic, jammy wines.
Exactly. You avoid that super ripe character that just wouldn't suit Schiava's profile. The pergola shields the fruit and promotes air circulation underneath. It's ancient, but perfectly adapted. Brilliant, really.
So harvest time, usually late September, must be a really narrow window then.
It's incredibly tight. You're walking this fine line. You need just enough phenolic ripeness so the tannins, though minimal, are soft and resolved. But you absolutely cannot afford to lose that vibrant acidity. Wait a day or two too long, and the balance can tip, the freshness drops off.
A real balancing act.
It is. Get it right, and you end up with wines that are typically moderate in alcohol, say 12.5, maybe 13% ABV, but with this wonderfully bright, low pH, often around 3.3 to 3.5.
And that low pH isn't just a technical number.
Not at all. You feel it. It's that zippy, mouth-watering quality on the finish, that structural backbone that makes the wine so refreshing.
Okay, let's follow the grapes into the cellar. If the whole philosophy out in the vineyard is about finesse and delicacy, the winemaking must follow suit, right? Minimal interference.
Absolutely. Gentle handling is key. The main goal is to extract color and those beautiful aromatics without pulling out harsh tannins from the skins. So techniques like cryomaceration or cold soaking are quite common.
Holding a crushed grapes cold before fermentation starts.
Exactly. Maybe for 24, 48 hours down at around 8 degrees Celsius. The cold helps extract color and aromatic precursors slowly, gently, without getting much tannin.
So it's not about deep, dark color extraction like in some reds. It's more about preserving the delicate stuff.
Precisely. It's a surgical strike for aroma and soft color. Then the actual fermentation, the maceration with the skins, is kept quite short, maybe just 3 to 7 days, and relatively cool, like 20 to 25 degrees Celsius. Get the fruit, then get the juice off the skins.
And I saw some sources mention another technique for really vibrant styles.
Yes, for wines meant to be drunk young and super fresh, some producers use semi-carbonic maceration. Fermenting some whole berries inside the tank pushes the profile towards that really bright, lifted, almost tutti-frutti or vibrant cherry character. Very primary, very energetic.
What about aging? If tannins aren't the goal, I guess new oak barrels are out?
Generally, yes. The idea is transparency, letting the grapes speak. So aging is typically either in stainless steel tanks, which preserves maximum freshness and purity.
Makes sense.
Or in large, old, completely neutral oak casks, what they call body grandi. We're talking huge vessels, 20, maybe even 60 hectoliters.
So zero oak flavor.
Zero flavor pickup. Their purpose is just to allow very slow, gentle micro-oxygenation over maybe 6 to 9 months. It helps soften the wine's texture slightly, integrates everything, stabilizes the color, but without adding any vanilla or spice notes.
Okay, let's talk about what you actually taste and smell. We know bright red fruits, cherry, raspberry, and florals like violet and rosehip. But Schiava has something else, doesn't it? A real signature note.
It really does, and this is where it gets quite specific. It's this distinct hint of bitter almond, or sometimes marzipan. Chemically, it's linked to a compound called benzaldehyde. It's often subtle, maybe more on the finish, but it's that little twist that really defines Schiava.
Kind of a savory, slightly bitter edge.
Yeah, exactly. It stops it from just being simple primary fruit. It adds complexity, a unique identifier. Once you recognize it, you can often pick Schiava out.
And in the mouth. We've touched on this, but let's recap.
Definitely light-bodied, very low, very soft tans, almost imperceptible sometimes. And then that defining feature, vibrant, persistent acidity.
But you mentioned something else about the finish earlier, something a bit unexpected.
Yes, especially in those Alto Adige wines grown on the volcanic Porfido or limestone Dolomita soils, you often get the surprising, clean, saline or mineral streak right at the end. It's not heavy, it doesn't coat your mouth, it finishes clean, refreshing, almost salty sometimes, really lifts the whole experience.
So, bringing this all together for the dinner table. The sources call Schiava a curinga, a gastronomic wildcard. Why that term?
Because it bridges gaps. Its low tannin structure means it doesn't clash with foods the way a big tannic red might. Think about pairing with fish, for example. And its high acidity means it can slice through richness and fat beautifully. So it works where maybe a white wine would get lost, but a heavier red would just dominate.
So we're talking classic pairings from the region, like speck, that cured ham. The acidity cuts through the fat and smoke.
Perfectly. Or with things like canna d'urli, those bread dumplings, it just works.
But it's also brilliant by contrast.
Yeah, so.
Well, think about salty charcuterie boards. The acidity is fantastic there. Thin crust pizza, wonderful. Even, as mentioned, delicate freshwater fish like trout, especially if it's cooked with brown butter, that nutty flavor echoes the wine's almond note. It's surprisingly versatile.
And the absolute key to enjoying it properly.
Serve it cool, not room temperature, definitely not warm. Slightly chilled, maybe 12 to 14 degrees Celsius, that's 54 to 57 Fahrenheit.
Why is that so crucial? It lifts the aromatics, makes them jump out of the glass. It emphasizes that refreshing acidity and just makes the wine so much more vibrant and drinkable. Serving it warm kills its charm.
Okay, so for you listening, let's quickly touch on the DOCs, the quality levels, because that helps navigate what you might find.
Right. A lot of what's out there might just be labeled Caltarusi DOC or Lago di Caldaro. This is generally the entry-level style. Light, fresh, fruity, meant for drinking young. It can be lovely and simple.
But if you see Caltarusi Classico Superior, that's a step up.
That's a significant step up. Classico means it's from the core traditional growing area around Lake Cultern. Superiore means stricter rules, lower permitted yields in the vineyard, often slightly higher minimum alcohol, indicating better ripeness. These are wines with more structure, more concentration. They can actually age quite nicely for, say, 5 years or even more.
And they develop more complexity.
Absolutely. That primary fruit starts to integrate. And you might get these lovely tertiary notes emerging, maybe subtle leather, dried flowers, a bit of crystallized orange peel, all while retaining that vital acidity. This is where you really see Schiava's potential.
And one more specific DOC to know. St. Magdalener.
St. Magdalena or Santa Maddalena comes from the hills just around Bolzano. Historically, and still allowed today, it's a blend. Schiava is a main component, the vast majority, but they can add up to 10% Lagrain.
Lagrain is a much darker, more structured grape, right?
Exactly. So that little bit of Lagrain adds a touch more color, a bit more backbone, a little tannic grip, but without overwhelming Schiava's delicate perfume. Think of it as Schiava with slightly broader shoulders.
It really feels like Schiava offers something different. And elegance that proves complexity doesn't always mean power or weight. It's about that balance, that transparency, that incredible freshness.
And, looking ahead, there's a compelling argument for Schiava being, in a way, a wine of the future. Think about climate change, rising temperatures globally. One of the biggest challenges for red winemaking is maintaining natural acidity.
Which Schiava seems naturally equipped to do.
Well, its ability to thrive at altitude helps. And that traditional pergola system, protecting the grapes from excessive heat, is proving incredibly valuable in preserving acidity even in warmer vintages. It fits perfectly with the growing desire for reds that are low in alcohol, more refreshing, more food-friendly. It has a kind of built-in resilience.
So a final thought for everyone listening.
Yeah.
If you haven't explored Schiava, or maybe dismissed it as too light in the past, we really encourage you to seek out a bottle. Maybe a Culturzy Classico Superior, or a St. Magdalener. Serve it slightly cool, maybe with some charcuterie or simple pasta dish. You might just discover a whole new dimension of elegant red wine.